Hi YouTube, my name is Anissa. I am an occupational therapist. I just passed my board exam, so I'm really excited. And I'm really excited to share with you guys how I passed my exam. So I'm going to go over it. This video is going to be a little lengthy, but I'm going to go over everything that I did in detail. I'm going to try to be as organized as possible because I kind of was all over the place a little, but I'm going to try to go step by step. And then I just hope that it helps you guys for whoever's studying for this very big exam. All right, so to begin, the resources that I used were OT Miri, OT Rex, AOTA PDFs, Therapy Ed. I used OT Exam Prepper, and I used the Purple Book. So I did use a lot of resources. But the reason that I used a lot of resources was because I wanted to make sure that I was prepared and that I had everything that I needed. I did save up a good amount of money because I know that these resources are really expensive. Like, it starts adding up, and especially with the test, it is a lot. So I did that, and then I made a calendar. I made a calendar on Word, and I put it from Monday through Sunday for 8 weeks because I started studying January 6th and my test date was on March 2nd. So I studied like for 2 months. And I graduated December 14th. So I had a good amount of time to take a break and then study. I think the amount that I had was a good amount of time, and I do recommend about 2 months or even less if you feel more than prepared. I didn't feel that ready, so I feel like the 2 months was perfect for me. So starting off, like I said, I made a calendar. And at first, when you're looking at all these resources, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so many resources. Like, what am I going to do with all these resources? So what I started doing was I actually went by Therapy Ed primarily. This was my main kind of way to schedule everything. So I started at chapter 3. So in total I did 13 chapters if you think about it, because it's from 3 to 16. And then each chapter, if you go to the chapter, it tells you the title and then it tells you what's in the chapter here. So I went by all of that. And with that in mind, I put that on a list, on a separate Word document. I did a list of every single chapter and what was in it. And then I went into AOTA PDFs. I printed out every single PDF and I wrote down every single one that I needed to go over by topic. And then I matched it to the Therapy Ed chapter. So if, let's say, chapter 5 on Therapy Ed had to do with musculoskeletal, I matched all of the musculoskeletal PDFs to that. So I matched it together, and then what else? So then I wrote down I went on YouTube and then I wrote down every single OT Miri video available and every OT Rex video available. And I wrote it down in a list, and then I matched those videos to the topics of Therapy Ed. So in total, I was matching a Therapy Ed chapter with a PDF with a video. And then I also did that for OT Exam Prepper. I just matched whatever. I know it's just podcasts and stuff, but I matched it to whatever topic belonged to that subject. And then once I was done with that, I felt a little bit more, I guess, less stressed and overwhelmed with the amount, because now I had everything organized into their little topics. So from there, I thought, okay, there were some topics that obviously were very heavy. For example, pediatrics was a heavy one. There was tons of videos on pediatrics. And musculoskeletal was heavy, neuro was heavy. So for those heavy ones, I put up to like 4 days of pure studying for those. So what I did was okay, Monday through Wednesday, I'm going to do this topic. Wednesday through Friday, I'm going to do this topic. If the topic was like not that heavy, I would do Monday and Tuesday. But I did it consecutively, like one topic, then the next, and then the next. I didn't combine topics because I feel like that's how I learn best. And if I start combining things, I get really confused. So I'd rather finish one and then go to the next one. So when I was in the topic throughout my studying time, I also did, I would read the PDF, take notes, and then in little sticky notes like this, like just sticky notes that I had laying around, I would write down any charts that were important, anything like that. I even had larger sticky notes that were like this, and then I would write down charts too that I felt that I needed to memorize later. So I did that, and then and before actually jumping into anything, I took the NBCOT pretest, and that one I passed without even having anything to study off of yet. So I think it's good to take like some pretest before, just to see where you're at, just to see where you feel the most confident at, and then where you don't. So I really, really enjoyed that. And then after that, so I did the calendar. So then I started studying. You know, I jumped into it. Weeks were passing. I was going through every single PDF. I was going through every single exam. So many questions. I did practice mode on the AOTA. So it's your choice. You can do test mode. I know a lot of people like to test themselves with time. Timing was not the big issue with me, so I didn't really concentrate too much on trying to like time myself so I could have perfect timing. But if you are worried about time, I would say whenever you're taking the AOTA PDFs, try to time yourself as much as possible so that you can be building up your endurance for time and your speed. Because in the exam, time is running, and you know, you have so many questions that you have to finish, and you're going to try to finish most of the questions or all of the questions, because that's every question that you answer is a point, and if you get it right, you know, it's more points, and if you get it wrong, it doesn't deduct. So it's best to try to get every single question done. So after all that, I was about week 5. I had finished everything. I had finished the AOTA. I had finished therapy ed. I had finished every single topic. So I was really happy, and I was really proud of myself at week 5. So after I finished all of the topics, I went back to AOTA, and I took the notebook that I was writing all of my questions down. So what I was doing whenever I would take an AOTA exam, I would write down every single question that I got wrong, and then I would here. So I would write down the question that I got wrong, and then I would put the rationale as to like what the answer was, and then things that I needed to study. So sometimes I didn't even write the question. I just put important key things. Sometimes I would just put the answer, honestly. Just depends. And then once I did that, I went back, and then I read the entire thing of all the questions that I got wrong and the answers. And then I took the AOTA exam on every single question that I got wrong. So I actually had to take it into 2 sections because I had over 200 questions that I had gotten wrong. And yeah, so I took that, and then until I finished it completely. I waited till I was completely done, and I had no more wrong questions, which was really tedious. But it was good. It would help me refresh my memory. Then after that, I jumped into NBCOT because I hadn't started NBCOT yet. So by this time, I was done with practically everything. Well, actually everything. So I started NBCOT. I did a domain a day because I think it's manageable to do a domain a day. It's just flashcards, so it's not too bad. And then there's like a knowledge match game, which kind of helped me too. So you can do that. And then, so I kind of did that in a day. I also took in the sticky notes, I was writing like things that I had missed or things that I hadn't seen before, which is not a lot. It was mostly just review of everything that I was seeing. And then after that, I jumped into, this was about 3 weeks already that I had left before my exam. And then I jumped into the purple book. So the purple book, I did mostly all the questions, but I was doing it really, I was skimming most of them, and I mean, I was doing them as much as I could, but at this point I was already super tired. Like, I had done over 2,000 questions. Oh, and I forgot to add, I also did the therapy ed, the 3 exams. So that's optional though, like you don't have to do those. Those I would say are great if you want to like test your knowledge, but I think they're really complicated and they're so much more harder than the actual exam. So you don't have to, I would say you don't have to do those, but they're good practice questions. So yeah, by this time I was like exhausted and I had seen so many questions by now. I was like so tired of reading questions, but it's good practice. It's good practice to be at that point where you're like, oh my gosh, I've done so many questions, because I think you want to get to that point where you're so used to reading a question that you answer it so much better now, and you're able to break it down so much easier because you've seen so many. So it's not like you're taking 2 minutes to read the question anymore. Now you're just like reading key points, and then you're answering like that. So I think that's a good way to be. Then after I did the purple book, I had like about a week left, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I've done everything, you know what I mean? The only thing that was left was really memorizing all my charts. So literally I memorized all my pediatric charts, spinal cord levels, Glasgow Coma Scale, like neuro, splints, memorization of charts primarily. I'm talking about just charts. I did it the last week, and that's because that's how I function. I tend to remember more when I memorized it like earlier. Well, not earlier, but sooner when I'm in the exam, like I want to already have it in my head fresh. Not, oh, I memorized that 3 weeks ago and now I can't remember what I memorized. So that's primarily why it took so long to do that. But it's up to you. I took out every single sticky note that I had made, and I put it into the back of this binder that I was taking for questions, and I stapled it or taped it to the back. And as you can see here, I have tons of them. So like this one is for, sorry, I can't see. That one's for like the burns, some splints. This is like the OT exam preppers material. I have vital sign levels, ulcers. I have everything, literally every single sticky note that I had made. I put it back here. I tried to put it in order as much as I could, but my primary goal was to put all of them in here so that I would have one place to be looking at and not a billion PDFs to go through. I just wanted to like lay down in my bed and like be able to skim through this over and over and over if I was like bored or if I got nervous or something. So for example, like this is all of the pediatric charts. So I know it looks crazy, but like toileting, manipulation skills, gross motor development, grasping, pre-writing, manipulation, yeah, it's all in here. So yeah, it was a few pages of all that. So I'm really glad I did that though, because it really made it so much more organized. And then I could, whenever I was bored or whatever, I would sit down and then I would go through it and then I'd be like, okay, I would look through it and then I would close it and then I would have a paper and then I would write down, okay, can you write down like all of the Rancho Los Amigos stuff? Can you write down the ACL levels, the Glasgow Coma Scale? And it was really, really helpful to do that. After that, then I had like days left, and I just kept doing that for days, you know, for the last week. I was just doing that. I was just memorizing until I knew how to like have it in my memory. And then I also had it in my, I could write it down. So if I could write it down and if I could recall it, then I was good. I was like, okay, I'm gonna remember that for the test. I'm fine. And I wasn't really taking any more exams. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I did take the last practice NBCOT exam as well, and I passed it. I passed it with like a 470, and after that, they don't really tell you the rationales for those, so that's it. Like, you pass or you fail. And I didn't take the last final for NBCOT because I was exhausted of questions already. And honestly, I was a little scared for it to say that I failed. So I kind of didn't. I was kind of a chicken. But I do recommend that you do it. And I had also done... Oh, back to when I was doing the domains, I forgot. In each domain, it has like a 50-question little exam. I did those too. Let's see. But, so jumping into days before my exam. So, like 2 days before my exam, I was still memorizing. Well, I wasn't memorizing that much. I was just reviewing pretty much because I already had everything memorized. Well, as much as I could. And so the day before my exam, I got everything ready. I made sure that I had my passport, my ID. I put it in my bag. And I said a prayer. I fell asleep really early that night. I think I fell asleep at like 9:30, which I do recommend. And I had snacks in my bag and stuff. And I left in the morning. I got up early. I took a shower. I ate oatmeal. I try not to drink too many fluids because there's not that many breaks. It's a 4-hour exam and you don't want to waste your time on going to the restroom. So I think I drank like a bit of orange juice. I got there early, and I got there 30 minutes early. They scanned me, and then I took my exam, and everything was good. You know, I would say go in there with as much confidence as you can, you know, even if you feel like you didn't study enough. I'm pretty sure you did. And go in there with confidence and say a prayer and just really trust yourself. You know, I feel like we know more than we think we do. And we really do. And yeah, after the exam was over, I didn't take a break because I was scared that my time was gonna run out. So it's up to you. A lot of people do. Just know that when you take a break while the time is running, it's gonna keep running regardless. Like, it's not gonna stop. So what a lot of people do is that they take a break during the time that they give you between the multiple choice and the clinical sims, which is like about, I think it's like 6 minutes or something, or 4, I'm not sure. But I didn't. I just sat there. And then when I would get kind of like my eyes started drooping, I would put my head down, and then I would kind of just like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. And then I would pick my head back up and then continue with the test. At the end, I tried to answer every single question because I didn't want to like run out of time and then not answer those questions. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna answer to my best of my ability right now, and then if I have time, I'll go back. So I kind of flagged those. But at the end, I had like about 10 minutes left, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm not gonna change my answer. You know what I mean? It's my best guess right now, and it's still the same, right? You know, it's still the same, so it's not gonna change. So I ended my test. I had the test running. I kind of like went over a few things, and that's it. I got out of there, and I was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? It was so long. I couldn't remember a lot. It was just so much information. You're like, whew, and they give you every single question you can possibly think of. So after that, I waited for 9 days for my results, which was really, really annoying. And I found out I passed on that date that my test was supposed to be released. And I kept refreshing my email, and that day I didn't like really sleep at all. But when I received the notification that my test results were posted, I went online and I had an OT certification number, and it was such a blessing. You know, I cried. It was just a surreal moment. It was an awesome moment to know that all of the time that you had put into all of those endless questions that I took, they were all worth it. I really feel like my method prepared me for the questions. I feel like after so many questions, after like more than 3,000 questions, I was prepared to answer. So that's what I would suggest, is try to just take as many questions as you can, because I feel like after you take so many questions, you start noticing a pattern in the way that you're answering them. You start getting better at it. the repetition really does make a difference, and I really do recommend it. For whoever is studying for the NBCOT, I wish you the best of luck, and don't give up. Keep pushing yourself. It's totally worth it at the end, I promise. And at the end, you can say that you're an occupational therapist. I'm going to be working on posting more videos on my channel. Please subscribe, and I'm thinking next I'm probably going to go over about my process into my OT school and all that, so what I did throughout and how I got to where I'm at. So thank you, and please subscribe.